What's going on? The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indies Sports Tickets. A lot of topics to get to today. The U.S. Open starts today. I got my guy, Matt Murphy. He's going to join me at 11, the best golfer that I know, pays attention to all this stuff. But that's not where I'm going to start. He's coming on at 11. We're going to talk U.S. Open. The Fever play against the Atlanta Dream tonight. That's going on. Netflix hosting a hot dog eating contest between Joey Chestnut and his rival Kobayashi. Brady gets his number retired. JJ Redick to be interviewed by the Lakers. Just a lot of stuff going on in the sports world. Plenty of stuff, including the NBA Finals. And that's where I'm going to start today. New listeners, I'm a Mavs fan. Last night was rough. Okay, it's probably a good thing my wife wasn't at home. If you're watching the stream, which you can do on YouTube, just search for Indie Sports Tickets, subscribe there. You can watch the live stream. You can join a great YouTube chat, or you can head over to Twitter, follow us at Ticket1430. You can watch the stream there. And while you're on Twitter, follow me too at _ Jonathan Smith. But the Celtics take a 3-0 series lead last night in the NBA Finals. Not a great night for me, but that's okay. It happens sometimes. And walking away from game 3, the importance of having composure in every situation, whether that be the NBA Finals or being at the grocery store and your 3-year-old's going absolutely nuts. Composure is important because when you lose your composure, you can do really dumb things. And that is what happened to Luka Doncic last night. Now, I'm going to talk about a lot of things that happened last night, including the officiating, some questionable decisions made by Jason Kidd. But look, the Dallas Mavericks lost that game last night because Luka Doncic could not maintain his composure. He was overly emotional, and he fouled out with 4 minutes and 12 seconds left to go in the game. At least 2 of his fouls that I counted were frustration fouls. You can't do that in the NBA Finals. If you are the best player on your team, if you're the best player in the series, you have to be smart, and you can't foul out of games with 4 minutes left. I honestly believe that if the Mavericks had Luka in the final four minutes of that game, they would have won. Boston had no answer for him whatsoever. He would come down the floor. He would get a switch. He would go by whoever's guarding him. And with no Porzingis in the game, he was able to get layups. And that's really what Dallas took advantage of. They got to the rim as an insane amount. Okay, like they got to the rim whenever they wanted. And, and it was honestly impressive. And if he had been on the floor for the final 4 minutes, then the Mavericks, their chances undoubtedly would have been better. And I believe that they would have won the game. He led the Mavericks in plus minus at +9. But his inability to maintain his composure, he was overly emotional. It carried on into his post-game press conference where he blamed the refs for the game. And look, the refs, I didn't think they were great. I didn't. I thought they were pretty awful. I'm not a blame the refs guy. I don't think that the referees are why Dallas lost. I think Dallas lost because Luka fouled out. But I do need someone to explain to me how the Mavericks only took 2 more free throws than Boston, despite taking 25 more 2-point shots than the Celtics did, with the majority of those being at the rim. And I understand that, the Boston Celtics are a great defensive team. Derek White's one of the best, small shot blockers in the league. Al Horford is still a decent defender. Drew Holiday's obviously amazing, but when you go to the rim that much, you should shoot more than, 16 free throws. So there was that. Positive side for Dallas. If you listened to Dan's show yesterday, we both agreed, take the over on Kyrie sets the score. I believe that the line was set at 23.5 points, and he went over. Kyrie Irving was awesome last night. Like, he finally looked like Kyrie Irving. 35 points on 13 of 28 shooting. The big run that the Mavericks had late, right, where they go on this 20-2 run and they come storming back and they cut the lead down to 3. That run consisted of 2 things that the Mavericks haven't had at all in this series. Kyrie Irving making shots, and guys not named Kyrie Irving or Luka Doncic making shots. The ball actually moved. Role players stepped into threes with confidence, and they knocked him down. PJ Washington hit a 3. Green hit a three. Lively got a couple of dunks. I mean, the role players for the Mavericks actually made shots during that stretch, and that's why they were able to close the gap. And having role players that can score is important, to say the least. You have to have threats outside of your two best players, and the Mavericks haven't had that all series. Boston has done a great job of limiting those other guys because they're all predominantly guys that can catch and shoot. Outside of Kyrie and Luka, the Mavericks don't have very many guys who, when they put the ball on the floor, you are confident in their ability. And when we look at the three best offenses in the NBA this year, all three of them have a plethora of guys who can put the ball on the deck, and you're like, okay, this doesn't make me nervous. You know, like when we look at Oklahoma City, outside of their two best players, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams, like if Chet puts the ball on the floor, you're cool with it. If Josh Giddey puts the ball on the floor, you're cool with it. If Cason Wallace puts it on the floor, you're cool with it. When you look at the Pacers, right, the second best offense in the league this year, part of why Boston really struggled to stop them is because of the same thing. They had multiple guys that when they put the ball on the floor, they don't make you nervous. Guys outside of Halliburton and Siakam had the freedom to do more than just catch and shoot. Andrew Nembhard, when he put it on the deck, you didn't get nervous. Well, Aaron Nesmith in certain spots, he made me nervous sometimes when he put it on the floor. Miles Turner, when he put it on the deck, you don't get overly nervous, right? And McConnell, obviously, when he puts it on the deck, you don't get overly nervous. And the Celtics have this exact same thing. Okay, the Celtics have five guys on the floor at all times that can handle the basketball and create offense for themselves and for other people. And that has been the ultimate difference between these two teams. Boston, doesn't matter who has the ball, they can go score. Dallas, it does. It's got to be Luka or Kyrie, and Boston has multiple defenders that they can put on those two guys and make their life hard. It's like, look, Luka, Kyrie, if you guys want to beat us and you guys want to hit a bunch of tough shots, say, hey, that's fine, but we aren't going to let any of these, catch and shoot three guys. We are not going to let them beat us. And Boston has done a great job of just cutting off that water, and it's been really impressive to watch, right? Because Dallas, beat a great defensive team in the Minnesota Timberwolves in 5 games. It's been like, seriously, like this Mavericks team is still good. I know there's going to be questions raised about it, but still, Dallas, they just don't have good enough role players to win this series. And, Jason Kidd, who I have defended a lot, I think that Jason Kidd's a good coach. I think he's improved exponentially from his first coaching job in Brooklyn, right? And so, but last night, he got on my nerves a lot, and I wrote down all these notes, like just listed out all the things that Jason Kidd did that didn't make a lot of sense to me. But as I've had the morning and a night's worth of rest to kind of calm down, Jason Kidd played Tim Hardaway Jr. 19 minutes, a guy who has barely played in the playoffs. Tim Hardaway Jr. was minus 16 in those 19 minutes last night. And in my notes, I wrote down that that's a fireable offense. But I've changed my mind on that. I think, grading coaches is really hard. It just is because, there's people today that are going to rip on Jason Kidd for playing Tim Hardaway Jr. 19 minutes because he didn't play well, right? And they're going to say things like, "Oh, like how can you play this guy who's barely played in the playoffs and is coming off of an injury? How can you play him this much?" But at the same time, if Tim Hardaway Jr. had played well, we'd be calling Jason Kidd a genius, right? That's just the way that coaching works. That's the way that people look at and grade coaches. I actually don't mind it, even though Tim Hardaway Jr. played bad. Because when you look at the Mavs, their biggest issue has been the inability to relieve the pressure off of Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. They don't have anyone else on the team that can put the ball on the deck and go get a shot. Tim Hardaway Jr. can do that. And throughout the playoffs, we've seen this emergence of Jaden Hardy, who's been coming off the bench for Dallas, because he's another guy who can put the ball on the deck and go score. But he's been atrocious in this series against Boston. And at some point, you can't continue to put Jaden Hardy on the floor. You have to make a switch at some point. Jason Kidd went to Tim Hardaway Jr. because there have been moments throughout Tim Hardaway Jr.'s career where he has played well. And it was apparent that Dallas needed a little more offense, right? That's kind of been their struggle in this series. They haven't had enough offense to win these games. They haven't broken 100 points once. They haven't. And they needed an offensive kick, and Jason Kidd went to a guy in Tim Hardaway Jr. who can heat up and score a lot of points really quickly, and he just didn't do that last night. And he's a terrible defender. That's why he was minus 16. But at the same time, I can't blame Jason Kidd for putting him in. Now on the Boston side, they're great. No other way around it. I think they win tomorrow night. I think it's a sweep. I think Dallas is broken. And that's going to put the Celtics record on the season at 80-20, which is nuts. I don't care that they beat a Miami Heat team that was banged up in the first round. I don't care that they beat a banged up Cleveland Cavaliers team in the second round. I don't care that they beat a banged up Pacers team in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I don't care that they're playing the 5 seed from the West. If you go 80-20 in an NBA season, which they're likely going to do, because once again, I think that they win tomorrow night and they sweep Dallas. If you go 80-20, that's impressive. That's incredible. And especially now in this era where guys like to take games off, and it's really hard to go 80-20 to even be like around that, just because guys are in and out of the lineup all the time. And Jaylen Brown's probably going to win Finals MVP. I wouldn't vote for him. I would vote for Tatum. We can talk about that later. But Brad Stevens really should win it. I mean, he has assembled an incredible roster. I mean, top to bottom, it's incredible. Al Horford still has some stuff in the tank. He's been great. Obviously, they draft Brown and Tatum, and they drafted Peyton Pritchard, who's come off the bench and had good stretches throughout these playoffs. Like the roster top to bottom is just incredible, and that is a testament to Brad Stevens and just the incredible job that he's done running that team and making these trades. I mean, like the Boston Celtics are hands down the best assembled. They are the best roster in the league. They are, because I gotta be honest. Like Jason Tatum is a top 6 player in the world, but he's never going to be top 4. He's just not. Jaylen Brown's a great player. We're seeing all the stuff that he can do throughout these playoffs. But yeah, the roster that Brad Stevens has put together has just been it's incredible. He goes out, he makes the trade for Drew Holiday. That's really kind of what put him over the top. He goes out and he makes a trade for Porzingis, and they don't even need him. That's the crazy thing. Like, that's how good this roster is. They can lose their starting center who can score, 20 points a night and grab rebounds and protect the rim, and it doesn't matter. They don't need him. Brad Stevens made a great trade a couple years ago to go get Derek White, who's been awesome. I mean, it's really just impressive the work that Brad Stevens has done as the president of basketball operations in Boston. And yeah, he should go down as a Celtics legend just based off this team alone. The salary cap stuff I don't think kicks in until not next year, but the year after. So they're going to be able to run it back in large part. Jaylen Brown's money kicks in, and that'll be a thing that they have to navigate. But Brad Stevens has done an excellent job. Congrats to him and the Boston Celtics for winning the title this year, because there's, unless they just go absolutely ice cold from 3 over the next 4 games, Dallas is not going to beat them 4 times in a row. It's just not going to happen. So congrats to Brad Stevens. Congrats to Boston on winning their first title since 2008 and hanging banner number 18. Now, the Fever won't be hanging banners anytime soon, but they do continue their season tonight. They're in the middle of this very important stretch in their season where if it goes well, they might have a chance to make the playoffs. If it doesn't, then maybe they're picking first overall again next year. We'll see. The Fever continue their season tonight against the Atlanta Dream. I'm going to talk about that when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
The best takes, stories, and entertainment. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
What's going on? The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Tickets. Live on the radio, also live on YouTube. Subscribe there at Indy's Sports Ticket. Live on Twitter, X as well, whatever you want to call it. Live there as well. Follow us at Ticket 1430. So you can watch the live stream there. But if you want to be a part of the glorious chat, head on over to YouTube. That's where I recommend that you go. Today I'm wearing a Trailblazers jersey because I feel like a Trailblazers fan. I'm just in mourning all the time. My Dallas Mavericks down 3-0. It happens. But that's okay because Caitlin Clark plays basketball tonight. And I'm excited to watch Caitlin Clark. This Atlanta Dream, the team that they're set to play tonight, very average, very middle of the road. This is a winnable game. They're 3.5-point underdogs. Your Indiana Fever are, and they're in the middle of this stretch of 9 games. They're 2 games into it. They're 1-1. That contains a lot of winnable games. Okay, a quarter of their games this season have come against one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the league, and the Fever are finally in a stretch where they aren't playing the Las Vegas Aces or the Connecticut Sun, a team they haven't beaten since 2021. They aren't playing the New York Liberty. They're playing the Atlanta Dream and the Phoenix Mercury. Can't wait for that one because Diana Taurasi plays for that team, and I think that Caitlin Clark is finna cook her. Just saying. But we'll see. And in order for the Fever to start winning games, Caitlin Clark has to figure out one of the most important parts of basketball, and that is not turning the ball over. That is the only thing I want to see from Caitlin Clark because I know that shots are going to start going down at some point. I know she's going to finish at the rim well. I know that she's going to find cutters and she's going to drive and kick and find her open teammates. But you got to quit turning the ball over. That is the only thing that I want to see. I don't care if she goes 0 for 20 tonight. As long as that turnover number is 1 or less, I'm going to be happy. 5 turnovers a game from your starting point guard at any level, high school basketball, 3rd grade basketball, middle school basketball, college, definitely professional. 5 turnovers a game is simply too many. Like point guards, good point guards don't do that. They don't. And I understand that, part of that is her teammates aren't always ready for the ball and they look up and they're like, oh, wow, you actually made that pass. But here's the thing. You have to learn your teammates at some point. We are a quarter of the way through the season. You have to know and understand which teammates are looking for the ball and which ones aren't. Now, at the same time, her teammates need to, focus a little more on the game, But still, you have to know your teammates and figure out what they are and are not capable of. In addition to that, Aaliyah Boston got to show up, got to be impactful on both ends. She has to finish around the rim better. She needs to rebound. Okay, like this is a woman who should be more than capable of averaging a double-double. Okay, she was an all-star last year. We know that she has it in her. And I'm very curious to know how this whole Caitlin Clark dynamic has kind of impacted Aaliyah Boston. She's obviously not getting as many shots because of Caitlin Clark, but she's been the second best the second best forward on her team. I almost called her a big man, and that would have been wrong. Nalissa Smith, who's been starting at center, has played better than Aaliyah Boston has this year, and that shouldn't be the case. Aaliyah Boston has got to figure out a way to turn it around and be an important part of this team. I mean, she was the number 1 overall pick 2 years ago, rookie of the year last year, led the league in field goal percentage last year, was an all-star last year. Like Aaliyah Boston is more than capable of being a dominant player down on the block, and she hasn't been, and she's got to figure out a way to make that happen. She does. Now, I will say my favorite player to watch when I've watched the Fever this year has been Kelsey Mitchell. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about Aaliyah Boston because of the great year that she had last year. Obviously, there's a lot of focus on Caitlin Clark, who's struggling with turnovers, and she's really just up and down. Kelsey Mitchell has been up and down as well, but she's awesome. She's incredible. I love watching her play. She she's a legitimate shot creator, right? She's got a great looking step back jumper. She can hit the pull up. She finishes at the rim well. But more importantly, she plays fast. She's up and down the court quickly. She handles the ball well, which is nice to see. She is a good player who is capable of scoring and finding her teammates. And I would like to see her handle the ball a little bit more. Okay, this is Mitchell's third year in the league. I think they're asking a lot of Caitlin Clark to bring the ball up and be the main focal point of the offense. And I think she would benefit, especially with how much basketball she's played this year. I think Caitlin Clark would benefit being the secondary ball handler a little bit more. Let Kelsey Mitchell bring it up the floor. If you want to swing it to Clark, let her get into some catch and shoot stuff. I think that would be really nice and really helpful for Caitlin Clark, not only tonight, but down the road. So I like to see it a little bit more, but I wanted to mention Kelsey Mitchell because she's been awesome this year, and a lot of the attention has gone to Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. Mitchell, absolute bucket. I want the ball in her hands more. Most importantly, though, the most important part of watching the Fever and the biggest question going into every single game is a very similar question to watching any young team play. Can they play defense? Will they play defense? Will the effort be there? I want to see the Indiana Fever commit to playing defense. There is plenty of offensive talent on this Indiana Fever team between the three players that I just mentioned and Nalissa Smith, who's been awesome this year playing, playing alongside Aaliyah Boston in the front court. Okay, like the question for the Fever isn't whether or not they're going to score. It isn't whether or not they're going to have opportunities to knock down threes, because those things are going to happen. The question for the Fever is whether or not they're going to play defense. Are they going to commit to actually playing well on that end of the floor? Because that's how you win. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm watching the NBA Finals last night, and I'm not going to rip on Luka too much for the lack of defense, because look, we all know that he's not a good defender. And we all know that the Celtics are hunting him because of that. And it's really hard to be the main guy on offense for 42 minutes while also defending your opponent's best player for 42 minutes, because that's what the Celtics have made him do. And he's really struggled in that. And it's part of why, Dallas is going to potentially get swept. But when it comes to the Fever, you have to show some sort of effort defensively. That has to happen to beat anybody. To beat anybody. So going to be interesting to kind of see what that defensive energy for the Fever looks like going forward. And here's the other thing that I do want to keep in mind. I don't expect for the Fever to play good defense. I just expect them to be engaged. Because playing defense at the highest level in basketball is difficult. Like in college and in high school, these ladies were probably the most athletic people on the floor. And because you are a top tier athlete, you can defend just based off of your athletic ability. And then obviously when you get to the pros, that is no longer the case. You're no longer the most athletic person on the floor. And so now, you have to work on technique and be a little bit smarter and do all those things. And so I don't care if the defensive output from the Fever is good. I just want the energy to be there. Because if the energy isn't there, then you're not going to learn how to be effective defensively. So Fever playing the Atlanta Dream tonight at home. Should be fun to watch. Cannot wait. Netflix. I love Netflix. It's the best streaming service out there. It is. And they are stepping up their game. They are not only going to put NFL games on Netflix on Christmas Day, but they are also going to have a hot dog eating contest between Joey Chestnut and his rival Kobayashi, September 2nd. I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic. 15-year rivals, Joey Chestnut and Kobayashi. They're going to compete in a live hot dog eating contest Monday, September 2nd. The title for it is awesome. It's Chestnut versus Kobayashi, unfinished beef. The name's incredible. I'm in just based off the name alone. Okay. And more people, I'm telling you right now, more people are going to tune in on September 2nd and watch that hot dog eating contest than the people that will watch on July 4th. Any sort of event is about stars. Okay. Not just sports, not just eating competitions, but literally everything. People don't go to concerts to listen to music. People go to concerts to watch their favorite band. Okay, like the concerts that sell out the most have the biggest stars at them. People don't go to Pacer games to watch basketball. They go to Pacer games to watch Tyrese Halliburton or to watch the star on the opposing team. The number of times, before this year when I moved here, I would go to Pacer games, not because I wanted to watch the Pacers, but like I went to a Nets game when they had Durant, Harden, and Kyrie. I was like, I want to see those three guys play. So I went. Sporting events, concerts, eating competitions, whatever it is, they are about stars. Movies, it's not about the script. The script isn't what gets people to the movie. It's the stars. That's why casting is so important. Oh, you got Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling? I'll watch that. What's it about? I don't really care. I just know that those are two good actors, so I'm going to tune in. Right? And then from there, obviously, it's about the event. Is the script good? Do I like the movie? Those kinds of things. But when it comes to this eating contest between Chestnut and Kobayashi, more people are going to watch that on September 2nd than the people that are going to watch the hot dog eating contest on July 4th because people aren't tuning in to watch how fast people can eat hot dogs. They're tuning in to watch Joey Chestnut. And if you don't have Joey Chestnut at an eating contest, let's be honest, it's not really an eating contest because everybody there knows that whoever wins on July 4th isn't the real winner. We all know it. The real winner is Joey Chestnut. He's the star of the event. And if he's not there, it just isn't the same. I love what Netflix is doing. I think this is incredibly smart. Okay. And John Buzzer just asked me what my favorite concert of all time is. This is pretty revealing about me. I don't like concerts. I've never been to a concert that I've liked. To be fair, haven't been to very many concerts. But I don't like them. There's a lot of people in a very small amount of space. And yeah, it gets hot, it gets sweaty. I don't want random people that close to me. Okay? Like I don't like it. And the music never sounds good at the concert. My reaction is always the same. It's like, oh, I listened to all these songs. They didn't sound as good as they do when I listen to them on my phone. And yeah, I mean that's kind of it. So yeah, I'm good. So yeah, I don't like concerts. I don't think I've ever been to a concert that I've liked, which is, not great for my wife because my wife really enjoys concerts. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to stand by all these sweaty people for 3 hours. Not for me, but there you go. Yeah, not a big concerts guy. I am though a big sports guy. Obviously, I mean, I host a sports radio show. I better be a big sports guy. And Tom Brady, his number was retired last night. He, gave a whole big speech and he said something really interesting that I want to talk about his relationship with Bill Belichick. I'm going to get into that when we come back here in about 4 minutes. The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Mavs down 3-0. Otter Creek chiming in saying, hey, at least I don't have to run 30 miles now. What's crazy, Otter Creek, is I might do it anyway. Because who doesn't like a good challenge? Yeah, for those unaware, I told my mom that if the Mavs won the finals, I would run of the 50K Monon race, which is obviously here in Indy. And I might do it anyway. We'll see. I don't know. But anyway, let's talk about Brady being inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame, number retired, all of those great things. Yeah, it's not surprising at all, right? I mean, he's Tom frickin' Brady, the best quarterback ever, still better than, Patrick Mahomes, despite what everyone says. Yeah, I mean, like he's the GOAT. He's got more Super Bowl rings than any other NFL franchise. Okay, like he's the guy, and his number was officially retired last night by the Patriots. Last night they honored him. A bunch of people showed up, and during his speech, I'll be honest, I didn't watch it. I didn't really care that much. Okay, grew up, still am a Miami Dolphins fan. Can't stand Tom Brady. Okay, last night though he was honored, and Bill Belichick was there, as he should have been, because he obviously played a large part in Tom Brady's career. But he said something directly to Bill Belichick during his speech. He said, quote, "It wasn't me. It wasn't you. It was us. Let me make this crystal clear. There is no coach in the world that I would rather play for." And look, I'm not going to debate who was more important. If I was, I would say that it's Brady. Coaches can't do it without the players, and I've seen great players overcome bad coaching before. Okay, I've seen it. So when in doubt, I'm going to say that it's on the players, not on the coach. What I will address, though, is that I am a big believer that the perfect combination in the NFL is a great quarterback with a defensive-minded head coach. For whatever reason, just works. Tony Dungy and Peyton Manning won a lot of games together. Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger won a lot of games together. Okay? Jimmy Johnson and Troy Aikman won a lot of games together. Belichick and Brady obviously won a lot of games together. And we have entered this era of offensive football in the NFL where it's all about hiring these young, smart offensive head coaches. And I just don't know if that's what we're going to continue to see for the long term. Okay, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year because of Mahomes and this great defense led by Tony Spagnuolo, who's been in Kansas City for all three of the Mahomes Super Bowl victories. Okay, this is just a typically successful combo when we look at the history of the NFL. And it seems like, and it feels like, people have forgotten about this combo because there's been this influx of good, young, offensive coaches. And I think it's truly changed the way that people view head coaches in the NFL. And it's changed the way that people hire coaches. It does. But there's a reason why Kyle Shanahan hasn't won a Super Bowl. It's just like there's a reason for it. There's a reason why Matt LaFleur hasn't won an NFC championship game despite being in the NFC championship game 3 times. Okay? And I think that reason is, yes, offensive-minded head coaches can elevate quarterbacks, but you can't elevate great quarterbacks, if that makes sense. Okay? Like early in Anthony Richardson's career, Shane Steichen is going to make Anthony Richardson appear better than what he probably is, because Shane Steichen is another one of these smart offensive coaches. And I think that it's important for when quarterbacks enter the league to be paired with a smart offensive coach. Okay, I think it just helps you. It helps you learn. You figure things out a little bit quicker when that is the case. Okay, like Jared Goff figured things out a little bit quicker than everybody else because he played for Sean McVay. Jordan Love has figured things out a little bit quicker than everyone else because he's playing under Matt LaFleur. Brock Purdy's figured things out a little bit faster than all the other young quarterbacks in his class because he's playing for Kyle Shanahan. So early in a young quarterback's career, I think it's important for them to play for a good offensive coach. Mahomes, same thing. He comes in, he plays under Andy Reid. Andy Reid helps develop him a little bit quicker, makes things easier on him. Like, that is important. But once again, when we look at the history of the NFL, it is great quarterbacks with defensive-minded head coaches that tend to win Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid is the exception, not the rule on that. And here's the other thing. When we look at the Chiefs, they have the best defensive coordinator in the NFL in Spagnuolo. That's just the way that it is. Now, once again, to give Colts fans some hope, I do think that it's best for young quarterbacks to start their careers with offensive-minded head coaches. Shane Steichen's going to be good for Anthony Richardson to start the year. Okay? He just is. But at some point, Anthony Richardson is going to hit a ceiling as to how good or great or average he's going to be. Every quarterback hits it. And once you hit that point, once you learn everything there is to learn about NFL defenses and offenses, an offensive coach just can't really do that much for you. Okay, like if Patrick Mahomes was to leave Andy Reid, there wouldn't be any sort of drop-off in his play because he has learned how defenses work and he's learned how offenses work. And so you no longer need that great offensive coach. Meanwhile, you need a great defensive coach. I think that offensive head coaches can only elevate the quarterback play in the offense so much, whereas defensive coaches can really elevate a defense even if there is a lack of talent on the defensive side of the ball. Okay? And then all you need at that point is a legitimate offensive guy that can go out and make plays and make all the throws. I mean, that's what the Patriots had between Belichick and Brady. Right? They had an awesome quarterback who understood offenses and defenses, and they had Belichick who prepares for games better than anybody else, and that was the key to success. Okay, when you look at the Cowboys and the dynasty that they had in the 90s, really similar. Troy Aikman, smart, great quarterback, one of the best we've ever seen. And then on defense, Jimmy Johnson, who was a defensive coordinator in college football before he ever even became a head coach, he controlled the defense, and he really revolutionized the way that teams played defense in the 90s. Instead of drafting big, bulky guys, he went out and he got a lot of speed, and it worked really well. So early in the career, it's important to have a good offensive coach. But as things progress, as the quarterback progresses, I think you're going to see a switch. And that's what I think we're going to see with the Colts. If Anthony Richardson ends up being, the great quarterback that everybody keeps saying that he's going to be, I do think we'll eventually see Shane Steichen get fired because I think that they will hit a ceiling, right? And once again, Shane Steichen's going to be good for Richardson, okay, because he is a good offensive mind. He elevated Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. He elevated Gardner Minshew, a career backup last year. Okay, and he's going to help elevate Anthony Richardson, but I don't think that Shane Steichen is going to be the head coach that wins a Super Bowl in Indianapolis, even if Anthony Richardson is right and playing in the NFL is easier than playing in college. Defensive head coaches with a great quarterback is what wins Super Bowls. Andy Reid and Mahomes have miscontorted things, and they've made us think just a little bit differently about what's going on. So, there's my thoughts on that. I want to move to the Lakers because I think it's a requirement. Everybody has to talk about the Lakers at some point in time. And there was a report this morning that said that JJ Redick is officially going to interview for the Lakers job this weekend. Great for him. Exciting for him. And he is expected to move to the forefront of that coaching search, which isn't surprising at all. When Danny Hurley passed on the job, following day, I literally said, congrats to JJ Redick on being the new Lakers head coach, because he's clearly the next guy. I know they've thrown out some other names, but let's be honest. We all knew that JJ Redick was next up after Danny Hurley, just based off of everything that Shams had reported. Now, I have to ask a question. I'm going to put my conspiracy theorist hat on here really quickly. Did the Lakers interview Danny Hurley so that it doesn't just look like they're hiring LeBron James's podcast buddy? The offer they made Hurley was low. I would say that it's low, just because certainly they knew that UConn would make a competitive offer to $11 million a year. And the timing of everything has just been really weird. It looked like, JJ Redick was going to get the job. He was the clear-cut favorite. We hadn't heard about Danny Hurley. And then all of a sudden we woke up one morning and it was like, oh, Danny Hurley's in LA. He's being interviewed for the job. And he wasn't even mentioned until much later in the search. So to me, this looks like just a great smokescreen from the Lakers. It was, okay, we can't look like we're just doing everything that LeBron James tells us to do. So let's go. Let's interview the best coach in college basketball. Let's make these promises. Let's offer to make him the 6th highest paid coach in the NBA. That way it looks like we really, truly, actually tried. And then when he says no, because we know that he's going to say no, because we aren't going to offer him enough money to say yes, then we can then go ahead and we can hire JJ Redick, and people will be like, oh, well, they at least tried to hire someone that isn't LeBron James's buddy. That's what's happening right now. And it's interesting in the reporting on why the Lakers didn't hire Danny Hurley and why they didn't offer him more money is because they are a, quote, family business. That's what people have said. And I don't understand that. Like, oh, like the buses, the people that own the family that owns the team, like I think they only own the team. They aren't, profoundly wealthy or anything like that. But here's the thing. If the Lakers really wanted Danny Hurley and they really wanted to hire him, and they didn't just want this to be some smoke screen so that they could then go hire JJ Redick, first of all, they've paid the luxury tax, I think, like 5 out of the last 6 years, something like that. So which means that they've taken money from their own pockets and paid it. Okay, so it's not like the buses are broke. Okay, like let's get that on the record right now. In addition to that, the buses own 66%. 66% of the Lakers. Okay, so because of that, they could have very easily sold off, 4 or 5% of it. The going rate for these NBA franchises right now are absurd. They very easily could have sold, 6% and gone from owning 66% of the team down to 60%. And then from there, they very easily could have, paid Danny Hurley with the money that they made from selling that very small portion of the team. And they didn't want to do that. So if you ask me, I don't think that the Lakers actually wanted to hire Danny Hurley. I think that they just wanted to appear like they wanted to so that they could then go hire LeBron James's podcast buddy. And as we all know, LeBron James is just the best ever at finding head coaches. This is a mistake. I get that he's LeBron James. I do. But come on now. You can't allow a 40-year-old who's only going to be around for 2 more years, who's on the decline. You can't allow that guy to run your franchise. You just can't. You can't do it. It's a waste. It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And yeah, I'm not surprised because the NBA is it's so different from the NFL in terms of just the way that the power is structured. The players have all the power. Okay, apparently Donovan Mitchell has all the power in Cleveland, which is kind of absurd considering it's just Donovan Mitchell, a fringe top 20 player in the league. That's insane to me. It's all about the players. It's a little annoying because players just don't understand. Like I think part of why Boston, the Celtics, have put together such a great team and why they're in such a good position to obviously win a title this year, but also again next year is because Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and these dudes have not inserted themselves into affairs that don't have to do with them. I think that it's pretty incredible that we've seen, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, two of the better players in the league, do a great job of just keeping their nose only in their business. And that business is just playing basketball. I think they've done, because this is just it's just not a normal thing for stars to sit back and let the general managers do their thing without giving any input. And because the Celtics have done that, because Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum have willingly sat back and allowed Brad Stevens to do what he thinks is best for the team, they're going to win a title because of it. And I look around and I see LeBron. He's got his hand clearly in the mix up there, and they haven't. I mean, they haven't gotten out of the first round in the last 2 years. That's not true. That's no, because they made the Western Conference Finals last year. But look, they've been a 7 seed. They've been in the play-in, and they've sat around and they've listened to these players too much. And I don't think it's a coincidence at all that Boston, the team that's about to win the title, doesn't have stars meddling in the let's go sign this guy, let's go hire this head coach, let's go do this. I don't think it's a coincidence at all. Brad Stevens has done a great job, and you have to tip your cap to Jalen Brown or Jason Tatum because they've allowed him to do that. Because once again, this is a players' league. It's dominated by the players. If the players want something to happen, if the star on your team wants something to happen, then it usually does. Look at Durant. He wanted out of Brooklyn, and they're like, okay, fine, we'll move you. And then he shows up in Phoenix, and he's like, I want you to trade for Bradley Beal. And then Bradley Beal's in Washington, and he's like, yeah, guys, trade me. And so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's a players' league, and I don't really like it, but that's just kind of the way that it goes. And because it's a players' league, they're going to wind up hiring. When I say they, I mean the Lakers. They're going to wind up hiring LeBron James podcast buddy. Um, yeah, it's just the way that things go. That's part of what makes the NBA so unique. I think that's part of why. I think it's part of why we like the NBA though. There's just so much on court drama, right? Because that's what we want. We want on court drama, not off court drama. So there you go. Coming up here in about 5 minutes, Matt Murphy's going to join me, the best golfer I know. He's coming on. We're going to talk U.S. Open because I'll be honest, I know Scotty Scheffler. I'm probably going to bet him to win. Outside of that, my knowledge is pretty limited. So that's why we bring on guests to help us or to help me where there is a lack of knowledge. So my guy, Matt Murphy, best golfer I know, tuned into everything in the world of golf. He's going to join me coming up here in about 5 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for...
It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
What's going on? The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Tickets. Hour number 2. Hour number 1 was great. We're going to talk a little U.S. Open golf with my guy, Matt Murphy. Big-time golfer, the best golfer I know. The handicap is actually -3 now. I don't even know if that's a thing. But Matt, what's going on, man?
Dude, you can't be starting
Matt,
today.
I cannot hear you. Maybe that's on my end. Okay, talk now.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, it looks like I'm unmuted. John, I really would caution lying to the viewers about anything, let alone the handicap being anywhere near 3 is crazy. And only your statement about me being the best golfer, that only indicative that you maybe don't know a lot of golfers then, because
I don't.
we're not that good, but we try.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's all you can do. Okay, right. Matt. So I've gotten, as you know, big Mavs fan here. We're mainly talking golf today, but yeah. I've gotten some just crazy comments today. I've got a guy telling me I should cut up and burn my Mavs jersey, which is hilarious. That'd be quite the bit.
It would be quite the bit. Who's the jersey of?
Luka.
Well, I would say this: if you did it, there wouldn't be a lot of defense to that because there's not. I mean, he doesn't play defense at all, so there's no stopping you doing that. Because Luka doesn't stop anything. He doesn't stop anything.
I've defended him today on that front. I think it's hard to be the main offensive option and also defend the opposition's 2 best players for like 42 minutes. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. No, it is difficult, but let's put it this way. The Celtics are set up in a way where their 2 best players are outstanding offensively, but are willing defenders, right? And they provide plenty of equity defensively. Their 3rd and 4th best players do really well defensively, Drew Holiday, Derek White, and can be really good offensively, as opposed to a team like the Mavericks, where their best 2 players are really good offensively, a little bit less inclined to engage defensively, at least not to the Brown and Tatum level. And then their 3 and 4 options. I mean, PJ Washington's a solid defender, but it's just, I personally think what makes this Boston team so good is Derek White and Drew Holiday, because they're so good, so versatile, and they can do it both ways. I mean, they can score when you need them to score, but they're always going to be outstanding defensively. So it's difficult to beat a team like that when your best 2 players are not defensively inclined.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Dallas has been fine on defense throughout this series. Like, they're only giving up 105, 106 points a night, which is like, that is winnable when you have guys like Luka and Kyrie. But their issue is those are their only 2 offensive threats. Like, what makes Indy, like, when you look at the 3 best offensive teams in the NBA this year, it was Boston, Indiana, and Oklahoma City. All 3 of them have players outside of their best 2 players that can put the ball on the floor and create something. They have multiple guys like that. And Dallas just doesn't have that. That's kind of been the biggest difference for me in the series. But let's talk golf, because that is it's why I had you on. And so I'll tell you right now, I'm betting Scheffler. I don't know how you don't bet Scheffler right now. What are kind of your thoughts on him, and who are some of the other guys that you'd be watching for the U.S. Open?
Yeah, no, fair question. And first off, he's plus 280 on FanDuel, which is crazy. That in a field of 60, to have one person be favored at plus 260 is nuts. But it speaks to how good he's been. I mean, he's been outstanding. And even just the last tournament he won, where he really wasn't far from his best. I mean, his final round was +2 and he won, which is nuts. So my main thing, I think the only real thing that could stop him would be traffic outside the course, right? Maybe if he drove, maybe he gets in another traffic issue, but no, he's really good and deserves to be the plus 280 favorite. I don't know. Mainly because I picked him on my fantasy U.S. Open team. I really like Rory. I think, hey, he's coming off. Him and his potential ex-wife, they canceled the divorce. They filed for divorce and say, hey, we're actually staying together. So I think he's got a lot of good mojo coming into the tournament, and again, would just love to see him win. It's been a while since he has. Also, like Ludwig, this big Sweden, looks eerily like Bennett Sayer, one of our
Okay.
boys. I like him a lot. Not necessarily to win outright, but to be competitive. And then, yeah, those are at least my big three names. The sleeper pick to compete that um, that I don't know is people have him marked down as competing. Hideki Matsuyama.
Okay. Do you know Ryan Burr? Do you know who that is?
Yeah,
He covers
yeah,
golf for
yeah.
ESPN. That was his guy yesterday.
Oh,
He came
really?
on
Okay.
Dan's show and he mentioned him. He was like, "Watch out for him." He mentioned Cam Smith as well.
Yeah.
Um, and then he got into some golf lingo that I was like, I don't know what any of that means. But hey, man, you're every time you've come on, you've been close to saying who's gonna win. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I I love watching golf on Sundays. I think
The best.
it is the best. And you know, like I gotta be honest, I fall asleep a lot, but that's fine because Sunday afternoon naps are the best. And as I l- let me ask you this.
Yeah.
When it comes to Scheffler, because he's clearly at the forefront of golf right now. I mean, how far off do you think he is from the Tiger Woods run that happened when we were kids that really kind of made golf explode?
Yeah, he is in the stratosphere for sure. The same universe. I certainly don't think he's there yet. And I think partially what's difficult is with Tiger, there's always going to be kind of the impact beyond just the golf impact, right? Like he grew the game in a way that I don't think Scotty is capable of, mainly just because of Tiger being a young African American golfer that came onto the scene. It was so dominant, right? Dominant to the point of again, it's all time great dominance from Scheffler now. But in terms of impact of the game, it's difficult to compare just because of the social impact, the growth of the game
Yeah.
that Tiger had. That's an aspect that I don't think Scotty will ever be able to
He's
achieve.
too boring for
Or,
that.
yeah, exactly. And part of the reason why I wouldn't necessarily be able to achieve the same level is because of Tiger grew that to is insane at the point to the point of like there are people that follow golf now just because of Tiger Woods, right? Yeah, exactly same. And,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I think our age bracket, like you look at people in their mid 20s, early 30s, like if you play or follow golf at all, it's probably because of Tiger. And again, I just don't think Scotty's going to have that same impact in terms of just on paper dominance, though. If he wins this weekend, if he wins a couple more, it would be absolutely and right there in the same sentence as Tiger back in the day.
So joined by my guy Matt Murphy, one of the best golfers I know, guy who's very in tune to everything going on. So whenever I get on Twitter and I see the conversation around the US Open, I see a lot of comments like the greens here are really fast. And there's videos of guys dropping balls and the ball just rolling all over the place. I gotta be honest with you. We've played a lot of golf. And you have said this phrase before, the greens are really fast today. I don't know what that means. I'm sure there are people out there listening
Yeah.
that are like, what does that mean? So can you explain that?
Yeah. So what's funny, John, is the Psalms golf course up over in Castleton and Pinehurst too don't share a lot in common. And if the
It's not.
Pinehurst greens are considered fast, then the Psalms course greens shouldn't be considered anything because
Okay.
yeah, mainly just say that because I'm not a good putter. So when I roll one 20 feet by, it's like, oh, it was fast.
Yeah,
Um,
it's fast.
but in general, there's so much undulation um, and part of what makes Pinehurst too really difficult. And you've seen it even a little bit in the first couple. I've seen a couple clips of guys that they'll miss 10 feet left of the pin and it'll land straight sit for like 3 seconds and then it just will slowly trickle all the way off the green, right? So it's not necessarily that the greens are fast; they are, but it's more so like around the greens. There's so much like runoff on the outskirts of the green. Like you really, again, even 10 feet left of the flag, which is a great shot for even them, right? On courses like this, it's just what makes it really challenging. It's truly a game of on the approach shots, especially, it's an inch one way, and you're well off the green, chipping out of up for a birdie / he could be in a bunker as well. So yeah, that makes it hard. And then I think even on the chips and putts that are off the green, you see so many people using the old Texas wedge, like we love to do, right? Keep the wedge out of the hand and use the putter right when you're off the green. You see that a lot at Pinehurst too. You don't normally see that in majors or any professional tournament or even collegiate tournaments, because these guys are really good, chippers and have really good short game with the wedge in hand. At Pinehurst too is different because it's really hard to stop balls, period. And there's just so much undulation and movement. So you'll see a lot of the guys putting well off the green instead of chipping, just because of the way these greens are set up.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Joined by my guy, Matt Murphy, who clearly knows a lot about golf, if you just heard that answer. So when I asked you last night to come on the show, you said that you had a question that you wanted to ask me. And I've been thinking about, I'm like, what is this guy going to ask me? So what's up?
I can't wait to hear your response. It's a question for both of us. We'll both give an answer. There's two different versions to the answer, or to the question. I'll go ahead and start with the easier one. So if you were in the U.S. Open, everyone else is teeing off from their tips, except you and me have the opportunity where we're starting each hole on the green, the farthest point on the green from the hole. And so that's our first shot is from, 80 feet, 90 feet, however big the green is, right? The farthest point from the pin. You don't have a caddy, so you have to read the greens by yourself. And again, You're starting from the green. Would you win the US Open? You're playing four. It's 4 rounds. It's 4 rounds. So each green you're starting. You're starting on the green.
Look, I would make the cut. That's probably about it.
I don't know.
I'm an awful putter. Like you've played with me, the putting touch is it's hit or miss, and it's usually a miss. And I just, look, if I took the summer leading up to the US Open and I went out and I putted every day, then I think I could finish like top 20. But with the shape I'm in right now, no way.
No way. Yeah.
There's no shot.
It's a tough question because there's obviously no gimmies either, right? There's no like, oh, that's good, right? You have to put everything out. And so I could just see myself, hey, maybe because keep in mind, a 3-putt for most holes is going to be a birdie, right? So you lag putt one up there, hopefully get within, 10, 15 feet. That would be nice, maybe 20. And then you lag putt another one up there, maybe leave just a little 2-3 inches left. Hey, I got a birdie, great. But how many holes would it be on my lag putt? The ball goes off the green. Now I have a wedge in hand, and now I'm in the bunker. Like, I'm cooked. So I think as many of the 3-putts that you find, and I'll say this, John, I played golf on Tuesday. I had like 4 3-putts, but it wasn't on a 4 or 5 3-putts. It wasn't on a green like Pinehurst. So I would say I would be competitive. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't know if that means making the cut. I don't know, because I could see myself kind of blowing up for like an 8 or a 9,
Fair enough.
So, yeah.
What's
just
your
figure
handicap?
that's a fun little question. The greens are that hard. We probably wouldn't. We would say, we can say all we want. We probably have no shot. Honestly.
What's your handicap so that my listeners know?
So this will be revealing to the lack of golfers, handicap's right around 8 right now. So
it's not bad. That's good.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's the best it is what it is. I mean, the goal is to be. My father played golf in college, and so my goal is to always be chasing the big dog. But I haven't caught him yet. Probably won't.
I mean, one day it'll happen for you.
Yeah, I hope it's before the general like aging process kicks in with him, and so he would then have an excuse of why. So I want to get him always at the top of his game.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
2 things here. One, we've got some Psalms Warriors in the YouTube chat, which is great. We love that. If you want to join the YouTube chat, just head on over there, search for Indie Sports Ticket. We should pop right up. Come on. We have a great chat. Also, several comments on you. All right, so we've got some. They're digging the gold chain once
Love
again. Joined by my guy Matt Murphy.
Love
Also gotten some. He looks like he's related to Jake and Logan Paul's in there.
it.
Any comment? Any comment on that?
You know, I'll say this. I went to a wedding this weekend, and I got that about 5 or 6 times from people I've never met, and to have the boldness to walk up and just say that. And I do have a quick story for the couple people that said that in the chat. I was at a Texas Rangers game. It was probably a month ago. Yeah, 4 weeks ago. So Texas Rangers game, walking up, talking to a group of people, and these 2 random people just kept talking to me. I hadn't met them before. They kept just, oh, it's great, so great to meet you, so great to meet you. And I'm like, okay, we talked a little about the game, and then I was like, hey, great to meet you. I'm gonna go back to my seat now. And one of them was like, hey, really quick, you're that YouTuber, right? And I was like, what are you talking about? YouTube? I don't have a YouTube. And she was like, you're one of the Pauls, right? Can we get a picture? And I was like, no, I'm not even close. No, like we could get a picture, but I'm not Logan Paul, I promise. So,
I don't have all the tattoos to be Jake Paul or Logan Paul.
I know, and I'm also honestly not very strong. So, I mean, yeah, and believe it or not, in the same conversation before this, I was like, I love these people for 2. Number one, they were just gassing me up because they thought I was a Paul. But 2, they were one of them said, he goes, we're talking about that Garcia guy from the Rangers, right? The big dude, right? Really strong. And he was like, well, and I said something about the side effects of steroids, just as a joke. And he was like, well, yeah, because he used to be really skinny like you. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, I don't feel skinny at all. My brother leans over. He's like, this guy's built like a coverage linebacker. He's not skinny at all. But yeah. All that being said, credit to whoever's in the chat. You're not alone in that take.
You brought up linebacker. So now I have to ask you, did you see Anthony Richardson's comment that he made on Jeff Teague's podcast? Do you know what I'm talking about right now?
Yeah, about the NFL being easier.
Yeah.
I have never seen that work out. Like, I've never seen that pan out in a good way. I think there's very few situations or people that have said that where that ends up checking out in the long run. So I didn't love that. Maybe it was a little bit out of context. I didn't listen to the full interview or anything, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's kind of bold for 4.5 games played.
12 quarters.
We'll see.
Yeah, he said it. That's all we talked about yesterday. I talked about that for like 5 hours yesterday. It was great.
Yeah, I hope it ends up being true. And I will say this: the only reason that he can legitimately say this, I was talking with a couple of people yesterday about it as well. The only reason he can legitimately say that is because he has an offensive mastermind head coach, Shane Steichen. He's going to lead us into the future of the 317. Culture in great hands. Great hands.
10-7.
Shane Steichen's a mastermind. Love him.
I think I like him more than my audience does. I think he's a great offensive mind. He was good in Philly. I mean, look, he took Gardner Minshew last year, a career backup. That's what Minshew's been, and they almost won the division. Like, you have to be a good offensive coach in order for that to happen. And once again, joined by my guy Matt Murphy. We've covered the finals, golf. Now we're talking Colts. It's just kind of the way that it goes with us.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, like, I'm with you. I made a comment earlier. I think when we look at the history of football, great defensive-minded coaches with great quarterbacks win a lot of Super Bowls. But I think it's important for young quarterbacks to have offensive-minded head coaches early because you just learn things quicker. They just make things easier on you. And I'm with you. I think Steichen's going to make things a little bit easier on Richardson, and hopefully A.D. Mitchell does as well.
Yeah, that dude's got some pop. At least I've seen and heard. He's played well in OTAs and so yeah, we'll see. I'm stoked though, man. It's just great for the city, dude. We're so lucky. Indianapolis is on the come up, dude. Actually, no, this way. Yeah.
Yeah, that way.
Yeah.
The camera flip thing. I don't know if your camera does this.
No, it is. That's what I was saying. I was trying to do the up and to the right, but then
you gotta go up
and left on here. It goes right on the screen.
Yeah. It's weird. That's just the way it goes, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, man. So you like McElroy? Just to get it on
Yeah, I
the
mean, I just mainly because of he's coming off of the stopping of the divorce. There's a lot of good mojo. He's
I don't
probably
know.
whatever. I don't know what happened to cause that, but it
She
obviously got
finally
resolved.
realized that she married a professional golfer, and it's okay that he plays golf all the time. I don't know if
Yeah,
you saw that comment, but she was like, "I don't like how much he plays golf." It's like, well, do you
he's
not know what
making
you signed up for?
he's making you millions of dollars. Give me a break. Oh my
Seriously,
gosh, that's
I'm with
insane.
you.
So,
It
so
is
I
insane.
mean, maybe just based on that he has to deal with comments like that. Maybe I don't like Roy to win, but
Fair. That'd be
maybe he resolved his divorce by playing less golf, which means he's probably not
maybe.
playing as well. So,
It's like,
no,
geez,
I
geez,
mean,
baby. Are you really gonna go play golf Thursday through Sunday? You're just
yeah,
not gonna see me at all?
yeah,
I
and I'll come
why
back with
would you do that?
$1 million. Yeah, okay. Either way, yeah, I would like to see him win. It's not that if I had to pick someone outside of Scotty Shore, I'll go with McElroy, but
He
kind of
hasn't
still feels like a long shot.
he hasn't won a major in like a decade,
I
if
know
I
he's
remember
due.
correctly, right?
He's
Yeah.
due. A lot of
He
good things
he is
going for
due.
him.
That's the way to look at it. He's due. Let's go. Matt, thanks for your time, man.
Pleasure. Appreciate the chat on the gold chain hype ups.
You
Logan
got it,
Paul
man.
comps. Appreciate it.
See
All
you,
right,
man.
so see you.
That's my guy, Matt Murphy, the best, just the nicest guy that I know. Clearly knows his stuff as well. So when we come back here in about 4 minutes, the Fever play tonight. Celtics up 3-0 in the NBA Finals. Netflix coming through clutch with the Joey Chestnut stuff. All that is coming your way here in about 4 minutes.
Get everything for your next project today at Menards and save big money. Take on tough outdoor cleaning projects with a Husqvarna pressure washer. Powered by a reliable Briggs & Stratton engine. They have the power for making short work of any job. Save big on Menards' selection of Husqvarna pressure washers. Visit Menards.com and check out our entire selection of pressure washers, plus the weekly flyer and many more great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Eating, working, living pain-free. These are a few of the things many of us take for granted. Yet for many United States military veterans, finding and affording oral health care is a challenge. Dental Lifeline Network is looking for dentists who can change this. Will you volunteer to help people like Richard, a U.S. naval veteran who suffered severe PTSD after his service? He was left homeless for a period of time, and his oral and overall health are suffering. Because of congressional limitations, the VA can't provide the dental help he needs. Through our Will You See One Vet program, we focus on helping U.S. military veterans like Richard. Now we are seeking more general dentists and specialists to donate treatment to at least one veteran with special needs. When you volunteer with DLN's program to see one vet, we handle the details so you can focus on the care. If you are a dentist or know a dentist, please share this message and help us make a difference in the life of a veteran in need. Visit willyouseeonevet.org to learn more. That's willyouseeonevet.org.
At 14:30.
What's going on? The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Tickets. I hope you're having a great day. I know I am. Much better day today than, what happened last night. The Celtics taking a 3-0 series lead over my Dallas Mavericks. And, biggest lesson from last night, really just, I wouldn't say the playoffs in general, but definitely from last night is the importance of being composed. Okay, anytime you're doing anything competitive, anytime there's something big going on in your life, anytime something doesn't go your way and you have to respond from it, you have to be composed. Whether that's, you're playing in the NBA Finals and you're down 0-2 and the refs aren't making the calls that you think that they should, you have to stay composed and you have to respond in a positive manner. You have to. Because if you lose your cool and you go crazy and you complain and it leads to you committing stupid fouls, you're probably going to lose. It's just the way that it goes. And that's what happened to Luka Doncic last night. Luka's inability to maintain his composure cost the Mavericks the game last night. At least 2 of his fouls were frustration fouls, and that cost the Mavericks the game because he wasn't on the floor in the final 4 minutes and 12 seconds. And if he had been on the floor during those final 4 minutes and 12 seconds, then their chances would have been exponentially better down the stretch because the Boston Celtics didn't have an answer for Luka Doncic all night. He was +9 on the night, and I know that people are going to talk about his defense and how bad of a defender that he is. First off, we know that he's a bad defender. He's been a bad defender these entire playoffs. He has been. But it is incredibly hard to both be the defender of the opposition's best players, okay, because he's defended Jason Tatum on numerous occasions. He's defended Jaylen Brown on numerous occasions. The Boston has done a good job of making him play defense. It is incredibly difficult to have to guard those 2 guys and be the focal point of the offense for 42 minutes a night. It's tiring. It gets into your legs. It's an issue. And despite that, he was still the best player for the Mavericks last night. He had 27, 7, and 7. Okay, I get that he didn't shoot the ball super great from 3. That happens sometimes, okay? Even great players have nights where they don't shoot the ball well. Okay, they just do. That's just kind of the way it goes. 1 of 7 from 3, 11 of 27 from the floor. He got to the rim whenever he wanted. And that, I think, was a big deal for Dallas. He came out, got off to a strong start. Took advantage of mismatches. I mean, I thought he played well. The Mavericks aren't here without him. But they should have won last night, and they would have won if he hadn't committed his 6th foul with 4 minutes and 12 seconds left on the clock. Because once he went out, I mean, Boston just swarmed Kyrie, who was awesome last night, by the way. He finally looked like Normal Kyrie Irving, 35 points on 13 of 28 shooting. And, he was good. And the issue for, Dallas was Luka's inability to maintain his composure. And the Mavericks finally had a stretch there in the fourth quarter when they went on that big run where the two things that haven't happened in this series finally happened. Kyrie scored the ball and the role players actually made shots. PJ Washington hit a big three on that run. Green hit a big three on that run. Lively, he got a couple of dunks on that run. Like, the role players for the Mavericks actually made shots, and that's why they were able to close the gap. You have to have role players that are capable of scoring. If you do not have that, then it makes things really tough on your offense, especially when you're playing a team as good defensively as the Boston Celtics are. You have to have threats outside of your two best players, and the Mavericks haven't had that in this series. Meanwhile, the Celtics do. Derek White has hit a couple big shots. Drew Holiday has made a couple big plays on the offensive end. Al Horford has had a decent series on the offensive side of the ball. That, to me, has been the difference in this series. It hasn't been, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown outplaying Luka and Kyrie. It hasn't been anything like that. It's been about the other guys. And when you look at the three best offenses in the NBA, they all have the exact same thing. Multiple guys outside of their two main stars that can dribble and shoot and pass. Oklahoma City, multiple guys outside of Jalen Williams and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander who can dribble, pass, and shoot. The Indiana Pacers, multiple guys outside of Halliburton and Siakam who can dribble, pass, and shoot. The Boston Celtics, plenty of guys outside of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown who can dribble, pass, and shoot. That is what you have to be great offensively in this league. You have to have multiple threats, even outside of the players that are going to have the ball in their hands the most. You have to. Okay? And I thought Jason Kidd made a mistake last night. He played Tim Hardaway Jr. 19 minutes. He was minus 16 in those 19 minutes, didn't score a point. And last night, while he's playing Tim Hardaway Jr. and he's throwing up miss after miss after miss, I'm getting frustrated. But I woke up this morning and kind of reset my mind on it. Jason Kidd has been looking for anyone outside of Luka and Kyrie that can score the ball because they haven't had it. And Jaden Hardy had been that guy throughout the playoffs, a guy who would come in, play, 10 to 12 minutes and score like 8 points. He was able to provide this quick spark off the bench. But Jaden Hardy's been terrible against the Celtics in this series. He has been. He's been awful. So Jason Kidd's like, I can't really go to him. I guess I'm going to go to Tim Hardaway Jr. I would have liked to have seen Dante Exum play a little bit more than what he did. But I'm not going to sit here and blame Jason Kidd when the real reason why Dallas lost was because Luka couldn't keep his composure. He couldn't keep from whining and complaining, and that is ultimately what cost the Mavericks the game last night. If he plays the final 4 minutes with the way that momentum was going fully in their favor, I truly think that they would have won that game last night. And then, it'd be 2-1 and everybody would be super amped up for Friday, or tomorrow, excuse me. But that's not what's going to happen now. Boston probably going to win tomorrow night. I think they broke the Mavs last night. We'll see how much pride the Mavericks have. We'll see if they can avoid being swept, but I don't think they can. I like Boston to win tomorrow night. I don't know what the spread is. Wouldn't surprise me if they covered. Speaking of covering, I like the Fever to cover tonight, plus 3.5. They're playing the Atlanta Dream at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. They're here. They're at home. They're in Indy in the middle of this very important stretch of their season. I'm going to talk about that when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
So find a store or switch suavemente at totalbyverizon.com. Offer ends July 31st, 2024. Promo subject to cancellation after 12 months. Available exclusively online and in Total by Verizon stores. Requires a compatible unlocked device and SIM. See totalbyverizon.com for device compatibility and additional details. Taxes and fees may apply.
Good morning, Uglyville!
Every ugly doll is unique.
I'm Moxie.
Bobo.
Wait.
Those close to me call me Slick Doll.
Which is not his name.
And every child is too.
He can be pretty lovable.
That's why when you travel, you should make sure your child is in the right seat for their age and size.
That sounds pretty great to me.
Keep them safe by visiting nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Isn't that right, gibberish cat?
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
People join Walk MS to raise awareness and funds that change the world for everyone affected by multiple sclerosis. MS attacks the brain and spinal cord. It's the most common neurological disease leading to disability in young adults. Walk MS brings communities together, creating teams with friends, loved ones, and coworkers to rally around those we care about and end MS forever. Join us. Together we are stronger. Walk MS fundraising accelerates research breakthroughs and life-changing breakthroughs. It will take all of our passion, determination, and fundraising to end MS forever. Together, we can change the world for people with MS. Join us. Register today, start a team, and raise funds at walkms.org.
Often imitated, never duplicated. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Tickets, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Tickets. Wrapping up the show here. Covered a lot of ground today. Celtics up 3-0 against my Mavs in the NBA Finals. Matt Murphy joined. We talked U.S. Open. Fever play tonight. So on and so forth. Just a lot of things going on in the world of sports. Let's talk a little Fever. Fever tonight against the Atlanta Dream in the middle of this oh-so-important 9-game stretch that has a lot of winnable games. Opportunity to go 6-3, maybe 5-4. Currently 1-1 as they've already played 2 games in this stretch, beating the Washington Mystic and losing to the Connecticut Sun. You know, the results of those games were what was supposed to happen. They were supposed to lose to the Sun. They were supposed to beat the Mystics. Those things happened. The Dream tonight, up in the air. Because the Dream are a pretty average team. And, you know, we're going to figure out how good the Fever are because they've played the best teams in the league consistently to start the season, and they haven't won. And a large part of that has been turnovers, especially from, you know, the face of the WNBA, Caitlin Clark. And that's the thing that she has to learn to avoid. Okay, like, I don't care who you are. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how bad you are. I don't care what level you play at. You can't average 5.5 turnovers. Oh, excuse me. You can't average 5.5 turnovers a game as the starting point guard. You can't do that. And so that is the thing from Caitlin Clark that I want to see her develop. And I get that part of it is, you know, her teammates don't always catch the ball and things of that nature, but that doesn't happen 5 times a game. It doesn't. Okay? Like, she's got to figure out a way to take better care of the basketball. You know, because let's just be honest, we all know that this Fever team isn't great, but it's even harder to win when you're giving your opponent 5 extra possessions. You can't do that, especially if you're going to be the starting point guard. You just can't. And most importantly, though, more than anything else tonight, when it comes to the Fever, I just want to see them commit to playing defense. That's really all that I want to see. Okay, that has been an issue. Christy Sides went to the podium after their last loss against the Sun, and she was like, look, you can't coach effort. That's something that players just have to have themselves. And she's right, especially at that level when you're being paid money to showcase efforts and to, you know, play basketball. Okay? Like, if you don't want to have effort one day, you know, laying asphalt, like, okay, I get that because that job sucks. But you're just sit here and tell me that you can't showcase effort playing basketball for a day? I mean, that's kind of insane. It is insane. So I just want to see the effort. I don't even expect for the defense to be great because this is a young team that has a lot of offensive talent, by the way. If they can just showcase some effort on defense, they should be able to win some games. And look, when it comes to the Fever and expectations for how they're going to play defense, I don't expect them to be the best defensive team in the league because they're young. Young teams don't play good defense. That's part of why the Detroit Pistons are terrible in the NBA. But you can control your effort. And look, playing defense at the highest level in any sport is difficult. Okay, I feel like, in the world of basketball in college and in high school, you can be a good defender just because you're more athletic than everyone else. Like, I guarantee you that the ladies playing for the Fever were the best athletes on every team that they played on growing up. And because of that, they were able to be a good defender. But obviously, you show up, you play in the WNBA, and you're playing against people that are just as good athletically as you are. And you have to learn how to play defense through technique, and you have to understand how offenses work, and it becomes tougher, but you can cover that up by playing with effort. And that's really the only thing that I want to see from the Fever tonight. I want Caitlin Clark to not turn the ball over, and I want the Fever to actually play defense. Those are the two things that I want. And I feel like if they do those two things, they're going to have a great chance to win tonight. Like, basketball ultimately isn't that it's not hard. Okay? Control the ball, because if you take more shots than your opponent, you're probably going to win. And play defense. If you can do those two things, your chances of winning go up a pretty decent amount. Okay? Now, something that went down a pretty decent amount were the chances of people watching the July 4th hot dog eating competition. I'm not watching it. No Joey Chestnut, so I don't care to watch it. Right? Because we care about stars, and Netflix understands that. They put stars in their movies all the time. And because they understand the importance of having stars, Netflix is hosting a hot dog eating contest between Joey Chestnut and his rival Kobayashi. And the promo for it is great. The art that they put together for it, the post that they put out, 15-year rivals Joey Chestnut and Kobayashi will be competing in a live hot dog eating competition on Monday, September 2nd, titled Chestnut vs. Kobayashi, Unfinished Beef. Great name. I'm in just because of the name. And more people are going to watch on September 2nd than people that will watch the hot dog eating contest on July 4th. Any sort of event is about stars, not just sports. People don't go to concerts to listen to music. They go to concerts to see people that they like. It's just the way that it goes. People don't go to Pacer games just to watch basketball. They go to watch Halliburton or Siakam or whatever star is on the opposing team. I think one of the most fun sporting events I've ever been to was here in Indianapolis. It was, I hadn't lived here very long. I'd been here like less than 6 months. And I show up, and Steph Curry is like 7 3-pointers away from breaking not Reggie Miller's record. Who had the record before Reggie? Jeez. Maybe he was trying to break Reggie's record. Anyway, he was on the verge of breaking the record for the most three-pointers made all time. And I show up, and it was awesome. Not because the Pacers were good, because they weren't very good that year. I was there to watch Steph, and it was great because he's a star that gets people to show up to games. It's the same thing with Caitlin Clark. She's a legitimate star, and so now people are paying attention to the WNBA. It's about stars. Same thing with movies. Like Tom Hanks, if he's in a movie, I'm probably gonna go watch it. Before Robin Williams died, if he was in a movie, I was probably gonna go watch it. Because those are stars that just get me to a TV screen. And in the world of competitive eating, Joey Chestnut is a star that gets people to events and to their TV screens. Okay? Like, people don't tune in to the hot dog eating contest to watch people eat hot dogs as fast as they can. They don't. People tune in to the hot dog eating contest to watch Joey Chestnut. And if he's not there, then why am I going to watch? And I appreciate Netflix for doing this. This is something that needed to be done. I threw out the idea. I think it was yesterday on my show before this even happened. And I wonder if this is where like one-off sporting events are going. Like I feel like it's just easier and cheaper for Netflix to organize something like this rather than forking out the money for the NFL or the NBA. So this is interesting. I'm excited for it. I will watch it. Once again, more people are going to tune in September 2nd to watch that than they are the July 4th eating contest. Now, a player that a lot of people have tuned in to watch over the years is the great Tom Brady. Tom Brady's number was retired officially yesterday by the New England Patriots. They had a big thing at, in Foxborough. They honored him and he, gives a big speech and, they show a bunch of his former teammates. And in the speech, he addresses Bill Belichick. And his quote was, "It wasn't me. It wasn't you. It was us. Let me make this crystal clear. There is no coach in the world that I would rather play for." And I'm not here to debate who was more important. If I was, I would tell you that it was Brady, and I'd be right because players are always going to be more important than coaches. Okay, I have seen numerous great players overcome bad coaching. I have never seen great coaches overcome bad players. Because at some point, you just have to have the dudes that can go out on the field or the court or the ice, I guess, if you're coaching hockey. You just eventually have to have dudes that can go out and make the required plays. Okay? What I will address, though, is that I'm a big believer that the perfect combination in the NFL is a great quarterback with a defensive head coach. For whatever reason, just works. Tony Dungy and Peyton Manning won a lot of games together. Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger, they won a lot of games together. Jimmy Johnson and Troy Aikman won a lot of games together. Belichick and Tom Brady obviously won a lot of games together. And we've entered this era in the NFL where it's all about offense. It is. Everyone wants to hire the new hot young coach that coaches the offensive side of the ball, which is great, but you still have to play defense and you still have to be good on that side of the ball. And I think good coaching can elevate a defense more so than it can elevate a good offense, especially if you have a great quarterback. Okay. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year because they had Mahomes and a great defense. Tony Spagnuolo has been in Kansas City for all three of the Patrick Mahomes Super Bowls, which isn't a coincidence because he's one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. Okay, great defense combined with great quarterback is typically a successful combo. And it seems like people have forgotten about that. There's been an influx of these good offensive coaches in the NFL, and it's truly changed the way that people view football. But there's a reason why Kyle Shanahan hasn't won a Super Bowl. There's a reason why Matt LaFleur hasn't won an NFC Championship game despite being in it 3 times during his time in Green Bay. Okay, great quarterback play with a good defensive head coach is a great combination to win a lot of games. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are the exception, not the rule. Now, to give Colts fans some hope, I think that it is best for young quarterbacks to start their careers with an offensive head coach. Like I think JJ McCarthy, I wouldn't be surprised if JJ McCarthy had a better rookie season than Caleb Williams because he's playing under a good offensive head coach in Kevin O'Connell. It's helpful. Whereas, Caleb Williams is playing under Matt Eberflus, who's more of a defensive or oriented guy. So JJ McCarthy's life is just going to be easier because of that. And when it comes to Anthony Richardson, he's going to be better quicker under Shane Steichen because Shane Steichen is a smart offensive head coach who's going to do everything that he can to make things easier on Anthony Richardson going forward, right? And we've already seen Shane Steichen do this before. Okay, Jalen Hurts looked like he was going to be fine. He looked like he was going to be just an okay, fine, solid, above average NFL quarterback. Shane Steichen shows up, and guess who, goes to a Super Bowl? The Philadelphia Eagles, led by Jalen Hurts. The best year of Jalen Hurts' career was when he played under Shane Steichen. Last year, after Shane Steichen leaves to be the head coach of the Colts, guess who wasn't as good? Jalen Hurts. Okay? And we've also seen Shane Steichen elevate a career backup in Gardner Minshew. Okay? Shane Steichen is going to help elevate Anthony Richardson. But I don't know if Shane Steichen is going to be the head coach that wins a Super Bowl here in Indy even if Anthony Richardson is right and playing in the NFL is easier than playing in college, you have to be able to play defense. And Gus Bradley, defensively, not a great defensive coordinator. So I guess there's a world where Shane Steichen goes out and he hires a better defensive coordinator. That would obviously help things and change the equation, but he seems to really like Bradley. So we'll see what happens there. But defensive head coaches combined with great quarterbacks, that is what traditionally wins Super Bowls. Mahomes, Reed, the exception, not the rule. Now, man, 3 minutes left here. JJ Redick, it was reported today, is officially interviewing for the Lakers head coaching job this weekend, and he's expected to be moved to the forefront of that franchise's search. Now I have to raise a question. Did the Lakers interview Dan Hurley just so that it doesn't look like they're hiring LeBron's podcast buddy? The offer they made Hurley was low. They said it was going to be, life-changing, high-end, a whole lot of money type thing. But it wasn't. It wasn't as great as what they, talked it up to be. And the timing of everything was just really weird. Danny Hurley was never mentioned until he was interviewed, really. I mean, they didn't really pursue him at all. And I think part of why Danny Hurley stayed was because guys like Alex Caravan had already committed to coming back, and I don't think he wanted to leave those guys, but, we can talk about that later, I guess. But the whole search was just weird, and it just feels like a smokescreen for the Lakers to hire JJ Redick and be like, oh, well, we tried to hire Danny Hurley. We tried to make him the 6th highest paid coach in the league, but we just didn't have the money to do that. It's like, okay, you guys are the Lakers. You guys could have afforded it. Let's be real here. So JJ Redick, congrats. You're going to be the new head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Boston Celtics, congratulations. You're about to raise your 18th banner, which is, great for y'all. Dallas, Luka, got to figure out a way to quit being so whiny. So we'll see. Thanks for tuning into the Real Jonathan Smith Show. I'll be back in tomorrow from 10 to noon. Dan Dockett Show coming up at noon. He'll be on live from noon to 3. Isaiah Thomas joining the show at 1. That's going to be a lot of fun. Jim Jackson joining the show at 2. The last time Jim was on, Dan and Jim didn't even talk about basketball. The last time that Jim was on, they talked about all sorts of stuff, and it was great. It was entertaining, so you're going to want to be tuned in for that. Make sure to head over to YouTube, search for Indy Sports Ticket, and subscribe there so you can watch the show live. You can tune in to the chat, which is just, always the best. I appreciate all the comments that I get throughout the show. You can also watch on Twitter at Ticket1430. Just go follow us there, and I think you'll have a great time listening. Thank you again for tuning in. If you want to listen to the Dan Dockett Show, hop in your car, turn that radio to 1430 AM, and you'll be able to listen there. Or you can download that Indy Sports Ticket app, and you can stream the show live there as well. This has been the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to listen. I'll be back on the air tomorrow from 10 to noon, and I will talk to you then.
Drivers, drafts, Dan Dockage, maybe even your dad. Friday, June 14, 12 to